Hey everyone, Jason Sherman here with Strap On Your Boots. In today's episode, I have a guest, Tristan Pelloux. He's a fintech expert. Thanks for joining me, man.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. And today we're going to talk about a topic that I know really well. I wrote a blog post years ago about this on how to run multiple businesses at the same time. And today you want to talk about how to run two businesses at the same time. So tell me what caused you to come up with this. Why is this a relevant topic?
Yeah, sure. So I early last year I started a blog on fintech called Fintech Review, and it was born out of passion. I wanted to write about it, but slowly it became a bit more than just me rambling about fintech, and became I do interviews, I do media partnerships, I do much more around media, which is good fun. But at the same time, I have my consulting business that I work with, well, mostly companies in fintech, but it's a different ball game. And I actually started a third business now. So I'm used to jungle a bit a few things, juggle a bit a few things. And it's quite an interesting time. I love being on several fronts at the same time.
Yeah, and being an entrepreneur really, they say that you're wearing multiple hats, and a lot of times people like me and you, right? We have an idea for a business and we run the business, but we're also a consultant to earn an income, and then like you said, we're doing blog posts and podcasts and YouTube. And then eventually you just end up doing all of them at the same time, like you said, kind of like juggling or a balancing act. But to us, it's more like a job, right? Because we're working a certain amount of hours a day and we're just doing each of those things. So is that what you do? Do you compartmentalize like certain businesses in like certain kind of chunks of time within a day to make sure you're doing each one? Is that one of your tricks?
So I've tried this, but actually, the way I try to work is try to prioritize stuff across everything. So this I really need to do for that. This I really need to do for that. And this is how I organize my time, rather than say I need to do 2 hours and 1 hour. Because some days, one business needs more time, and some days this is really like the sole focus for the next day. It's only going to be about this because I know I need to get this done. So this is more the way I like to work,
So it sounds a lot like
because yeah,
task management, right? It sounds like priority lists and task management, having a list of like your priorities kind of outlined, and then all the stuff that's not as important goes to the bottom, right? So is that what you're saying? You're doing all the important stuff no matter what the business is first, and then
yeah,
kind of moving down the list.
yeah, exactly. I love my to-do list. I can't, yeah. If when I wake up, if I don't look at my to-do list, my day is screwed. I need to look at my to-do list, need to check things, need to tick them. Otherwise, I can't. It's my OCD. This is how this is how I run, and I've been like this for as long as I've been working. So
It's the right way
that's
to
how I
be.
run my
I
businesses.
wouldn't even call it OCD. I'd say it sounds more like just being organized, right, and doing things the right way. It's funny because if you like lists, right, in my book, in my course, I have sections that just teach you how to write these lists, right, and that's one of the things that I do. I use, task management software, Google Docs, bullet lists, like just everything I got to do to make sure everything is prioritized. So for people listening, Tristan and I both love lists. You should too. And this could be macro and micro, right? You can do like really important lists and then really kind of sub important, like not as important. Maybe the important topics have tasks within them, right? So maybe part of what you have to do is create a video for your business, right? Well, there's a lot of parts of that. There's like shooting the video, there's writing the story for it, there's creating the graphics for the thumbnail, there's writing the copy for the text, and where are you going to market this video and what's the audience, and like there's so many different things that you should put in your list, right? Is that how you do it as well, like figuring out what parts of the job have to be tackled that day and the pieces within them?
So the way I organize is that I have my weekly lists, and kind of put the things at the top that need my attention first, and then I have a 2 day list. So I look at the weekly list. I'm like, okay, today I need to do all this stuff, and I put like little signs. So I do everything. So I love technology, but for that I need my book, and I have my book, and I write stuff, and my pen,
Old
and I
school.
have little signs. So oh, this is like warning sign. I really need to do it, and this is stars. So I have my own thing. But I mean, I guess you just need to find the way things work better for you. But as long as you're organized and you know the things you need to do. But I remember when I used to see people that don't have a to-do list, I used to be so confused. How do you do? Like, how is it possible? Do you remember everything you need to do, or do you just forget stuff? And I've noticed that people just forget stuff. It's not possible to just remember everything. So.
Yeah, it really is impossible. I remember a couple of times where I decided I didn't want to put stuff into lists because I was getting tired of constantly, putting stuff into lists and updating the list and checking the lists. And I remember that the times that I didn't use the lists, things fell apart.
Yeah.
I forgot things, and you just got to stick to it, man. You got to stick to the list. So, what other pieces of advice can you give people on running two businesses? Like, what are some of the top three, like, say, top three things you do that help you manage two businesses at the same time?
So I still learn to take time to, you know, read, for instance. Is that for me, I feel it's super important to read a lot of stuff because I need it to be a good like to run well my blog. Is that I need to run a lot about what's going on, and I even if I'm super busy, I have a consulting deadline, I will still take the time to read an hour or two every day because I feel it's super important. So my advice is that even if time is pressuring you a bit, just stick to your routine. Um, Same goes for going out and like running or whatever, like doing some sports and
Exercise.
socializing. So yeah, but also like so exercising, but also having some social breaks in the sense that otherwise, at first I was spending way too much time in my little office, and every day was the same. That Monday to Sunday, you wake up, you come, you turn on the computer, and you work. So trying to learn to even if because the thing is when you run a business or you run two, you run three or whatever, you can work every hour of the day, every day of the week. But you need to learn
You
to
forget to take a break, right?
yeah. And it's super important to take a break. So that's my guess my second advice. Third one, I don't know, but
It took
at
it
least
took me
these
it
two
took
is
me a
one.
while. To your point, it took me a while to figure that out too over the years because I was one of those hustlers and grinders where I was working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. I was in that atmosphere at one point in my life, and I got burned out. And eventually I learned, okay, I gotta do yoga, I gotta do meditation, I gotta go for walks, I gotta do exercise, I gotta go outside with my friends, talk to my family, and just like you said, read, watch a movie, detach from the business, right? You need to detach. And a lot of times when you go for these walks or these runs or these things that you do, you get new ideas, right?
Mm.
Especially when you're out in nature, when you're out like walking in the woods, you get really, that's when I get my best ideas. So, in terms of your businesses, what have been like the challenges that you found when trying to run multiple businesses? Like, we make it sound easy, right? Because we've been doing it for so long. But for the people out there who would like to do this, what kind of things should they avoid? Like, what mistakes might they make, and what kind of challenges might they face?
Um, yeah, so getting bogged down into details, in the sense that you think you're working on something like little tasks, and actually like it doesn't add any value. So, but you feel like you should do it, and actually you shouldn't pay too much attention. Um, and it's a bit like even if you run just one business, it's a bit like you have a limited amount of time, and you just need to be sure that what you do is actually valuable, brings you a bit further. So this is at first I was spending too much time doing things that are not valuable and wasn't moving the needle. And what happens is that you feel you're doing a lot of work on both stuff. Actually, you don't, and you just really, oh, I'm not going anywhere with any of the two. And actually, when you start focusing on several things for both things, then you start to see them move. And this is where the kind of the feedback loop, and you feel much more motivated to do work on both sides. So yeah, I guess focusing on valuable stuff um, was a big one for me, because especially when you start a business and you see the wheels spinning, but you're actually not moving yet,
Right.
and you're just putting so much effort and you don't see it move it yet, and then you get your first win, and it puts you a bit further. Uh, but it's keeping the motivation at that point where it's not moving yet and you're putting a lot of effort. I was quite challenging at that point, but when you get over the hurdle, that's quite when you strike your first wins. That's really gold.
The, doing this stuff that's valuable really resonated with me because I know early on I was doing what you're saying. Like we're talking 20 years ago, I was doing just like simple tasks that were easily delegated to people, right? That I was still doing myself and I wasn't focusing on the big picture. And so over time I started delegating all the simple things to people while I was working on the more valuable pieces. And then like you said, things started to move. Whereas the smaller stuff, it would get done and I could focus on the more important things. So people out there listening, you should delegate tasks that are easy or simple or time consuming, like data entry, social media posting, copy when you're doing content for blogs and things like that. Outsource all that stuff so that you can focus on the more important thing, you know, building your brand, building your relationships with customers, you know, putting out really good videos and content for your listeners and things like that. So I agree with that. And something else that you mentioned too, when you mentioned how when you're running both of the businesses and the wheels aren't turning, right? So there's this thing going around. It's been going around for probably decades where these successful entrepreneurs say you need to focus on one thing, right? Now, I'm not one of those, I'm not a believer in this, right? I don't believe in just focusing on one thing. It's called putting your eggs in one basket. What do you think about focusing on one thing, and why do you think it's the wrong move? Why do you think it's better to focus on multiple things?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm a big proponent of multitasking and doing various things. I think the big advantage of doing several things at the same time is that you can break your days into and break your weeks. So it breaks the routine of actually working on just one thing, because working on one thing you might get bored at some point. So whereas if you do several things, actually, oh, I'm gonna write a bit, I'm gonna work on this consulting thing, oh, I'm gonna work on my own startup. So you can break your weeks, and the days fly by, and it's really, I mean, for me it works really well for me. And I wouldn't want to focus on one thing, on any of, maybe I will have to, I don't know, but I hope I don't. And actually I look to people that are really good at multitasking and at running different things at the same time, much more than people that are really good at one thing and just do one thing only. Um, and I just feel it works better. Is that, you know, it breaks your routine. You're you're getting good at different things at the same time. So yeah,
That's a
I
big one
just
too, right? What you just said,
yeah.
you're gaining all these different skills too. Like if you're working on a business and then like a consultancy project and then some startup, each one of those is going to have different things, you know, attached to it. So you're going to be picking up skills, and then you can start to use those skills in other ideas and other businesses, and you start to be able to do more and more and more, which means you're never going to be working on just one thing. So I totally agree. Where can people find out more about you and what you do online?
So I'm all over the place.
Well, it makes
You
sense,
can,
right? Makes sense.
yeah, exactly.
Not just one place.
Yeah, exactly. So you can obviously find me on LinkedIn, Tristan Pelloux. I'm on Twitter, Fintech Review, Fintech _ review. I am on Instagram, Fintech Review.
Is that your
Always
website,
one.
fintechreview.com?
Fintechreview.net is my
Okay,
website where I post a lot.
cool.
Yeah, I'm a lot on social media. And yeah, and I'm always keen to talk to people. So people can drop me an email at hello@fintechreview.net. Um, Always keen
Perfect.
to talk to people, chat about ideas. Yeah, it's
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming, man. It was a pleasure.
yeah, it was great to talking to you.
Everybody out there juggling ideas, you heard it from the man, Tristan, and we'll see everybody in next week's episode. Thanks for joining.
Thanks.